Check it out.
Hi, Dean. I'm a composer and I don't live in New York or LA. I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And what I'm looking for is ways to make money. Just ways to make money with the music that I write. Not looking to get famous or score Hollywood motion pictures. I just want to get my foot in the door by starting to make some money. And I was wondering if you could tell me some real achievable options for doing that if you're not living in New York or LA. Thanks.
This is such a terrific question, and I'm really glad that somebody asked it early in the series because I think a lot of what we talk about on Rebel Creative is going to be sort of tied or tethered to a topic like this. So, I am a musician, I'm a composer, I'm a music producer, I'm a drummer, I'm a songwriter, I'm a recording artist. And the majority of the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years of my career have been based on a new model exactly like the one that you're talking about, sir. So 4.5 years ago, I left Los Angeles, which had been my home for 15 years as a recording musician. And I just got tired of it. You know, I got sick of the rat race of LA. Got tired of, quite honestly, I got tired of the people. I got tired of the attitudes. I got tired of the static. I sold all my stuff and I filled a backpack full of gear and I whittled my studio down to the most comprehensive mobile recording situation that I could construct at the time. And I took off for Asia and I toured through Northern Asia for about 18 months. And what ended up happening on that trip is I recorded with a ton of street musicians, met a lot of incredible vocalists, a lot of new friends, a lot of people that I work with now every day. And I brought it all back to a Tokyo hotel room and I produced a record in that Tokyo hotel room for about 2.5 months called Eastern Chronicle. And if you go on my website at deanogden.com, you can see the solo records there, Eastern Chronicle and Quela. Eastern Chronicle came out in 2013. Quela comes out in a couple of months. I just did the same thing in South Africa with Quela, using the exact same model. I say all that to tell you that there is a ton of money to be made online as a recording musician. Now, if you play something like I do, I'm a drummer, so it's very easy for me to play drums for people and do sessions as a drummer and send them remotely to anybody anywhere in the world. And I do that a lot. I would say that about 35% of my income is derived from playing drums for other people remotely. And I do a lot of work in Los Angeles. I do a ton of work in Nashville for a lot of Nashville producers. I do a lot of trailer music stuff for people in LA and London. And I can do that from anywhere in the world because of mobile recording and the internet. So the fact that you're in the middle of America and you're bookended between the coasts, you're still in a really great spot, especially if you have a skill that people want and that people desire. So if you're a player, that's one thing that you can do. If you're a player, there's all kinds of money to be made online. You can visit places like tricordist.com and some of the other music publications that are online that talk about, remote recording and people who are doing things in the business in a remote fashion from wherever they are on Earth and making quite a nice little chunk. The other thing that you can do, and something that I heavily advocate for anybody who's producing music or writing stuff of their own, which it sounds like you're basically doing some music that you can't find anywhere else in the world, I would imagine. Your stuff, I'm sure, is the kind of music that you love and stuff that you don't think is really being produced anywhere quite the way that you're doing it. That's very much my situation. I'm a big fan of world music and I'm a big fan of 80s pop. So take those two things and mash them together, and that's pretty much the Dean Ogden sound, if there is such a thing. Now, who likes that kind of music? Well, I don't know. I guess other people who are just like me. So what I set out to do with Eastern Chronicle, and I think what a lot of independent music makers set out to do with their own sound and their own brand and their own thing, is to just create the music that they wish was in the world and release it on iTunes. Now, iTunes is an incredible format, and obviously the iPhone, the iPod, Apple has revolutionized the music business to the point to where a lot of people are crying foul today saying, well, Apple has ruined the music business, all of that. iPod, digital MP3 stuff led us to where we're at now with Spotify and Pandora and Beats and all these places that are ripping off artists and screwing over people, Google and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I'm not one of those people. I don't believe that is the case. I believe that artistry trumps everything. I don't care if it's digital domination. I don't care if it's a new technology that emerges that enables us to do things that we never could do before and thereby rules the day. I think artistry is always going to be on top. So if your music is good and people want to hear it and you have something that is desirable by other people's eardrums, you're gonna be fine. The trick is in getting it to them and making sure that they are aware that it's even around, right? And that's where the marketing aspect comes in. And that's why I recommend iTunes to people, because iTunes is kind of the total package. You can distribute through iTunes through one of these other services like CD Baby or TuneCore or Ditto Music or any of these places where you can upload your music for a fee, usually an annual fee or a monthly fee. And you can have your albums on their site, but also they're going to push to iTunes because they have a deal with Apple that enables them to provide their entire catalog to Apple. But what is the mechanism for making sure that people understand that you're out there? Well, the best way I can explain it to you, honestly, is to cultivate a fan base before you publish your music online. And you can do that through SoundCloud, by releasing things on SoundCloud, or, making videos and putting them up on YouTube with your music behind them. There's all kinds of ways to do that. But the thing that I would suggest that you do, to be quite honest, is to release multiple albums at a time. Now, I did not need to do this because I already had a built-in platform. I already had a fan base. But if I was just starting out and I wasn't living in a city where I was able to network face-to-face with people about my stuff, I would release 2 albums at once on iTunes. And the reason why is because of the Genius engine on iTunes. The Genius engine is everything to an independent musician on iTunes. What Genius does is it links up the purchases of everybody who purchases your album on iTunes. And it sort of connects them all in a database. If you ever go to iTunes and you buy something, you'll see underneath, as soon as you push purchase, you'll see, well, listeners of this album also bought yada, da, 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 da. Well, your albums will be in those yada, da, 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 da's as long as people have purchased your albums along with those artists that they're familiar with. So in my case, in my world pop environment that I pretty much swim in, the people who buy things like Deep Forest, Enigma, Enya, Lorena McKennitt, Delirium, Cusco, all the way to, strange, obscure things like Turlough Carolyn. I mean, whatever, anything that has that sort of world vibe to it. Sometimes even Peter Gabriel. I've seen my albums pop up sometimes under Peter Gabriel's name. Those are the things that drive iTunes sales, because people pay attention to those things more than they do promotion from an actual artist, believe it or not. Recommended listening albums are responsible for about 87% of iTunes' sales, and that's a fact. So if you want as much material on iTunes as you possibly can get on there so that you have more of a favor in the numbers game of getting your stuff to cross-pollinate with other artists. And then from there, of course, there are other stages in the game that you can keep in mind, at least when you're doing your releasing and sort of, building your fan base, is that once your stuff gets out there and people start hearing it and it kind of picks up steam and maybe some of it goes viral or whatever, or even if it doesn't, you can still pitch your songs to placement agencies and get them placed in trailers, all kinds of different